In today's video, we'll discuss a few trade scenarios that would definitely benefit the Golden State Warriors. So without further ado, let's get into it. The defending champs are in the bottom tier of the Western Conference, making them one of the worst teams in the league. This is not at all what we were expecting them to be like this season, because they still have all of their key players from last year's championship run. But currently they're 5th in the NBA in points per game, 11th in field goal percentage, 5th in three-point shooting, 9th in free throw percentage, 20th in rebounding, 1st in assists, and 23rd in defensive rating. So based on their numbers, they should be one of the best teams in the league, but their horrible defense, among other things, are proven to be difficult to overcome at times. Let's take a deep dive into each key player's stats and numbers to see if we can find a reason why the Golden State Warriors are underperforming as a whole, starting with Steph Curry. Steph is averaging 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists while shooting 50% from the field, 92% from the free throw line, and 43% from 3 on 11 attempts per game. He's putting up insane numbers right now, and if his team were in a better spot, he'd be in the MVP discussion for sure. Of course, he's still the best shooter in the NBA. He's 1st in the league in three-pointers made per game with 5, so even at 34 years old, Curry still owns the shooting department. When you factor in the volume of attempts, Curry is also leading the entire NBA in three-point percentage. But his three-point dominance doesn't stop there because he's 2nd in the NBA in pull-up threes, shooting 47% on 6 attempts per game. As for facilitating the offense, Curry is 17th in the NBA in assists. He's always been a good passer, and although it's overshadowed by his scoring, he's elite in this category as well. He's even 9th in the NBA in secondary assists, which just shows how much he prioritizes ball movement. For rebounding, well, the 6'3" guard is 7th in the NBA in rebounds per game among all guards, with Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Josh Giddey, Josh Hart, and Luka Doncic ahead of him. So it's safe to say Curry has been a top-tier rebounding guard as of late. And that's on top of his superb shooting and playmaking. Quite simply, he's playing at an unbelievable level this season. On the defensive end, he's not a liability like in previous years. He's certainly not a lockdown defender, but he's solid, and even above average at times. While he is still out with that shoulder injury he suffered against the Indiana Pacers, he's expected to be back in 2 to 3 weeks. And well, when you're losing games with Curry in the lineup while putting up MVP-type numbers, you can only imagine how they're going to look without him. And yes, they beat the Grizzlies on Christmas Day, but we doubt that it'd happen again. Now to the second Splash brother, Klay Thompson. He's averaging 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists while shooting 40% from the field, 88% from the free throw line, and 37% from 3 on 9 attempts per game. Honestly, we don't understand where the Klay slander is coming from. He's still putting up great numbers, and sure, he isn't prime Klay anymore, but there aren't many shooting guards better than Klay Thompson right now. He's 8th in the NBA in three-pointers made per game, and number 1 in the NBA in catch-and-shoot threes when you factor in attempts, shooting 36% on 7 attempts per game. So both Steph and Klay are shooting great from deep, and that's why they're a top 5 shooting team. On the defensive end, while Klay is nowhere near the defender he was years ago, he's still a solid defender with good size and strength. And to be fair, they don't really need Klay to be that shut-down defensive stopper he once was, because they have Andrew Wiggins. Or at least they did have Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors have been playing without Wiggins for nearly the entire month of December since an abductor injury flared up after he dropped 36 points in Golden State's 120-101 victory over the Houston Rockets December 3rd. Before the injury, Wiggins was averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists while shooting 51% from the field and 45% from 3 on 6 attempts per game. And not only that, but he's one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. And based on the Warriors' abysmal defensive stats, they desperately need all the defensive help they can get at the moment. The worst thing about Wiggins' injury is that there isn't a timeline for his return, and even head coach Steve Kerr admitted that his injury is lingering longer than expected, which is never a good sign. So now the Warriors are without their 2 best players in Curry and Wiggins for extended time. But for now, let's focus on someone who is healthy, Draymond Green. Green is averaging 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 6.8 assists while shooting 53% from the field and 32% from 3. He continues to be the Warriors' best facilitator and passer, being ranked 17th in the NBA in assists per game and 12th in the potential assist stat. Of course, he's still one of the best defenders in the league, and the stats prove it. When it comes to players who've logged over 400 minutes thus far, Green is 2nd in defensive plus-minus, 8th in defensive box plus-minus, 3rd in defensive LeBron, and 2nd in defensive Darko. Golden State's defensive struggles definitely aren't on Draymond. And while their two sophomores, Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, are playing pretty solid, neither of them have taken that next step in their games. They're pretty good defenders, even better than that at times, but they still aren't elite. Kevin Looney is definitely one of the more underrated defenders in the NBA, especially after his great defensive performances in last year's playoffs. But he's still not elite either, and he's more of a great team defender. So while their offense will take a huge hit without Curry and Wiggins healthy, their offense really isn't the problem to begin with. It's their defense and inability to stop other teams from scoring. And that's where we got a few ideas that could shore up Golden State's defensive woes. Our first trade idea, send Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and a 2027 second-round pick to the Utah Jazz for Jarred Vanderbilt. First, let's discuss why the Jazz would want to do this trade in the first place. Yes, Vanderbilt has been a great rebounder and defender for the Jazz, but he's pretty limited offensively and isn't a great three-point or free throw shooter. He's averaging 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 2.8 assists while shooting 57% from the field and 68% from the free throw line. Moody and Kuminga both have much higher offensive upsides, while also having decent defensive upsides as well. And they're 3 years younger than the 23-year-old Vanderbilt. For the Warriors, bringing in Jarred Vanderbilt will be a match made in heaven. He's one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA. At 6'9", weighing 215 pounds, he can defend 4 positions at a high level. And just last year, he was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation at the start of the season for the Timberwolves. If you aren't too familiar with his defense, and that's fair because he's playing in Minnesota, go check him out and you'll be very impressed. Trust us, he's aggressive and physical while being able to shuffle his feet and move laterally with the best of them. And honestly, a defensive lineup of Draymond, Wiggins, and Vanderbilt will cause offenses nightmares. And he'll still be good for their future due to him just being 23 years old. He would also help the Warriors rebounding, which is ranked 20th right now. He's one of the most tenacious rebounders out there, and he'll bring great energy to the Bay Area. Trade scenario number 2, it involves sending Donte DiVincenzo, James Wiseman, and Patrick Baldwin Jr. to the Detroit Pistons for Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. The Pistons would do this to bring in more young talent to increase their young core's firepower, while also trading away 2 veterans on decent-sized contracts. Burks is 31 and Noel is 28, and they don't really fit the Pistons' timeline at all. And honestly, this would be a huge win for Detroit. For the Warriors, while Alec Burks isn't a great defender, he's a really good scorer and shooter, averaging 13 points and 1.7 assists while shooting 44% from the field and 40% from 3 on 4 attempts per game. So he would give them great scoring depth, especially with all of the injuries on the roster. And it helps that he's a solid playmaker as well. But Nerlens Noel is someone who would likely thrive in Golden State. The Warriors are 25th in blocks and 15th in points allowed in the paint, and 6'10" Nerlens Noel, with his monstrous 7'4" wingspan, would really help shut down those problems. But the biggest problem with this trade is the unknowns. Noel has barely played this season or even last season. So while it would be a gamble, it has solid upside and potential. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. And for our final trade idea, it would involve sending Donte DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green to the New York Knicks for Cam Reddish. And yes, we know there are recent reports that say the Knicks want a protected first-round pick in exchange for Reddish, but with him being out of the rotation, the asking price may dip soon, and if it does, the Warriors should 100% pursue him. It might seem like a stretch, but it's possible Reddish could have a career resurgence in Golden State the same way Andrew Wiggins did. Reddish has all of the physical and skill tools to do so as well. He's 6'8" with solid handles, good shot mechanics, solid passing, and he's a really good defender when he's engaged. Right now, he's averaging 8 points while shooting 45% from the field and 30% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. He's also a good cutter and just a natural off-ball player that usually plays with high energy and intensity. And if there was ever an organization to get Reddish engaged in the game, Golden State is the place to get it done. But what do you think? Which one of these trades do you think could benefit the Warriors in their ailing defense? Feel free to leave trade scenarios of your own down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.